Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
on. So Andrew, just grab a seat. Anyway.
Yeah, grab a seat.
Okay, cool. Eric, you stick around. All right. You stick around.
When are we gonna get started?
Not in 3 hours. Is it the whole 3 hours, Ann? I hope it's
No,
maybe
no.
an hour and a half or so.
I gotta talk to Steve for a second. He's still on the phone.
I was up sleeping on
That's
the couch
better
last
than
night.
lighting.
Messed up my
Yeah, well, it
back
has to
before.
put a face that way.
Ron, this is my friend Jessica.
Hey, Jessica,
This
nice
is
to meet you.
Riley, Boorof, and Dr. Robin McGee.
Hey.
I don't think we're gonna be eating right now.
No,
We're
I
probably
was just
eat
gonna
after
set
the-
down some
Okay,
menus
sure.
if you'd like. Would anyone like a drink or anything like
Does
that?
anybody want anything to drink or anything? I think we're good. Just the water.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. No, I need
I
water.
have the food menus here.
Oh, good.
So I'm just gonna sit over here and moan about my back.
Did you hurt your back? I hurt my back too.
I slept on the couch last night.
Oh, what
This
did
is
you say?
No, my baby doesn't sleep unless I hold him on the couch.
Oh,
1 month and 2 days.
oh my gosh! Congratulations, Eric.
I would like to be.
And what did you have? Boy or girl? A boy. What's his name? Oliver. Oh, beautiful. So you don't get much sleep.
But it's okay.
That's what every parent
So what's the
says.
plan today?
Good day, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our TV show. We're live from Le Bistro in Halifax. To start, I'm going to tell you this. It's fun time. We're so delighted to be with you. There's definitely going to be a good crowd. I've heard the superstar, Dr. Robin McGee, right there. Wow, it's good to see you. We have Riley Boorof from the Adsum House. We also have Eric Johnson from the Downtown Halifax Initiative. So here's what I'm going to do. Since the very first thing that we wanted for sure was to have the English part to be up and running, we're going to let Anne introduce herself. We look so much forward to hear more and to be we're right there for you. Je voulais vous annoncer donc l'émission avec Anne Edwards commence dès maintenant. On a une très bonne nouvelle pour vous, Dr. Robin McGee, il y a Riley Boorof, donc il y a aussi Eric Johnson. On a plusieurs personnes qui sont là-bas. On a vraiment hâte, comme c'est pas possible, de les entendre parler. Dr. Robin McGee wrote a book called The Cancer Olympics. I've always been almost like jealous not to be able to read it, but I'm sure eventually I will. So, and I'm taking my baseball bat, boom, swinging the ball over to you at the Le Bistro. And by the way, you guys are lucky. It seems to be such a nice place to go have a lunch at. Bon,
Thank you, Steve. And I'd like to. Can you see me on here? You got to. There. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Le Bistro for the first annual Lunch and Learn. It's a small setting today because when I was phoning around, there were so many other people that were doing some wonderful things in our community. But I saw the need for the homeless in particular. Having been homeless and having been homeless now, I live in a hotel. I saw the need when I saw ATV News and I saw Eric Johnson, the street navigator, mention that we needed 100 tents to house those that are less fortunate. So it got me thinking that the focus for this particular event would be on the homeless and mental health. Today with me, I have my moderator, Dr. Robin McGee, and then we have Riley and, of course, Eric. As far as why I decided to do this, I was homeless living in my car for 10 months and I didn't have very many resources. And when I went to the resources, they were either not there or they were didn't know when they would be there, and if they were there, they weren't the right resource. So I thought, if I'm going to spend 10 months homeless, I'm going to make sure that other people don't have to go through what I went through in the car. Um, Everybody at this table knows that I was homeless. Actually, in the 4 years that I lived in the city, I've been evicted 8 times. Having lived in the valley for 22 years and no evictions, I wonder what's going on. And it troubles me that there's so disconnection between the police and mental health. When you phone up 811 and you ask for a nurse, sometimes you're put on hold for 12 hours. And when you're in need and you need to speak to somebody right away, you can't wait 12 hours. Just recently in Moncton, a gentleman was in the care of the police in detox, set out in the middle of the night. Now he's dead. He dead. He died, doctor. Um, it's not only that you hear of the waits in the emergency departments, and what we have here today are 3 people that have gone through the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk us through their stories. And first of all, I would like to start with Briley. Um, with the housing situation that's going,
Riley join you on the?
yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna move somewhere closer, or even if I
Do you want to
just
sit right there?
Sure.
That's better.
That's water there. Yeah. Just could you just tell us a little bit of who you are? Oh, okay.
There's only the side of your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you just tell us a little about who you are and what attracted you to become a housing worker for Absam House for Women, and in the same time explain who Absam is and why we need their help?
Sure, yeah. I'll start with who ADSM is. So ADSM for Women and Children is a nonprofit organization that supports women, children, and gender diverse folks experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. We've been around for over 20 years now. I think we opened our doors in 1983. Like that. Yeah, we opened our doors to emergency shelter back in 1983, I think. Don't quote me on that, but 80.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
So we've been around a long time.
30 years.
And our organization has grown a lot. And I was just saying this to someone else recently that our organization growing is actually not a good thing. The increase in demand for services means we've had to expand our programs, start new programs, and try and be more accessible to more people. So that's ADSM. We've got lots of different things right now on the go. We've got our emergency shelter. We also have some permanent housing opportunities at 3 different locations, 2 in Halifax and 1 in Lakeside area. We also have our outreach team that does support to folks in the community with housing support workers, social workers, and intensive case managers. And then we also have our emergency shelter, which many folks know about. And then we also have a kind of like a pilot program right now too called Shelter Diversion Support, which is a partnership program with the Department
That's the
of Community
program I'm
Services.
under.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks to you guys. A big shout out to Absam House for Women and
How many
Children.
people do they take in for your program on average, or just no limits?
Taken in for a program. So it depends. It's not that there's no limits. There's definitely limits, unfortunately, because there's only so many folks that you can support safely and in a way that is actually supportive. You don't want to just I shouldn't
What's
say
your
everybody.
ratio? 10 to 1?
Right now, we've got probably about 85 folks on our housing support teams. I think we have close to 60 households in our shelter diversion support. We have 16 beds at our ADSM emergency shelter,
Yes.
which are filled daily. And then we also have about 7 additional households in our emergency units. And then in our housing in general, which is permanent housing, I think the total is about 64 households.
So what do we need now to have affordable housing for people that are on a shoestring budget?
We need affordable housing. Yeah. Definitely that. We definitely need people to respond quickly and offer more affordable housing. We need to build more affordable housing. We need to do what we can to acquire existing units to offer more affordable housing. And we need our government to act, of course.
So how can we get the action? Everybody knows, Eric's here and he's on the streets every day, and so are you. How can we mobilize so that we can get these before the winter? Because I'm afraid with the cold and the snow that the homeless are going to be more vulnerable than they even are now.
Yeah. I'd say it would be wonderful if we could get things before the winter. If I'm being realistic, it's probably not going to happen in terms of like acquiring safe, affordable housing to folks. Like getting permanent housing within the next month is it's going to be very, very difficult, virtually maybe impossible. However, there are some things going on to try and provide more emergency shelters to folks. We all know that shelter is not the solution. However, we don't want folks, of course, being stuck outside in the elements. So there are some things coming up. However, I will also be very real, and those things are not enough. And there's lots of folks that also don't want to access shelters as well, right? So there will still be some folks choosing to be outside because they have to be outside because they're facing many different barriers to being in shelter. Shelter is not a great place to be. We can do our best, like Adson does our best to make folks comfortable, but shelter comes with lots of rules. It comes with curfews. It comes with, of course, many things that people are not interested in. And so folks don't access shelter. So there are still folks outside. I'm very worried for those folks, of course.
So what happens if I'm homeless and I phone Adson and ask for a bed? What's the process to actually get into a shelter?
Yeah, so you call our shelter, you share that you're looking for a shelter bed that evening, and then if we have space, you may or may not be accommodated. It depends too on the unique situation that you might be in. If you, for example, call and say you're outside sleeping in your vehicle or something like that, and we have an available space, you may be able to access the shelter. However, I can't speak to like all of the nuances that go behind those decision-making things because I don't work at the shelter. But in an ideal world, if we had vacancies at the shelter, you would just be able to call and secure a shelter bed.
What
I have a
about
question. Do you guys have any openings with the shelter before winter's coming? Is there openings in the shelter at all? There's no openings at all right now. I've seen people. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Because you would know too
I was saying
about.
sometimes you call a lot, and all the shelters are like that. There's no beds.
Yeah,
Ever. It seems like
yeah.
you really got to get lucky to get a bed in a shelter.
Okay, so they're still popping.
and you
beds
have to
open?
call at midnight.
Yes. So like we have, as I mentioned, there's curfews at shelters. So often folks are faced with the rules of having to come home before curfew, or you're at risk of like losing your bed, and then your bed would be given to another person. So that's why folks may say, hey, call back at midnight, because if people don't return for curfew, a bed may become available, and it's almost like sadly your best chance at securing a bed.
So, that's for women only. What about the men? Is it more? I know Addison House is really great with making sure women are the men going to be in the same kind of? I heard
some
it's
shelters you call at 8 o'clock and it's for men.
Okay.
I see them, and sometimes they just call whenever because sometimes people get national leave. So it's
I
really
heard
hard no
there's,
matter what shelter.
I heard there's a new one opening in Dartmouth. There is?
The Travel Lodge.
The Christchurch, no
No?
shelter in the Christchurch.
Yeah.
Oh, Christchurch.
It's opening in a couple of days, I think.
Oh,
But it's only
good.
going to be daytime. They have to leave all day. And they're going to have showers there or no?
They probably should.
Just curious. He's not my house.
Riley, if I was the premier and I had a discussion with you, what would you want to say to me about the current housing crisis?
I think, like most people already are, is to really emphasize the sense of urgency that we're in and that we are in an emergency. I think we all know that. I think everybody sitting here are not people who need to preach that too. And I'm sure government is aware, but I think sometimes when you're very removed from a situation where you don't have to actually see folks day to day and you're not responsive or you aren't supporting those folks in the day and day, and it becomes, I don't want to say easier, but I feel like folks sometimes can be removed and distanced from the situation, so they don't maybe understand quite the severity of it and truly what that means for people like sleeping outside in these awful conditions. So I would probably just emphasize the emergency that we're in and hopefully try and strategize for future opportunities for affordable housing, like we said earlier.
But is it affordable? I mean, if you go for a 2-bedroom right now, it's up to over $2,600 for a 2-bedroom. 1-bedrooms are $1,300 to $1,400.
Yeah.
You're on social assistance. You've just been told that you're going to lose your home. What mental health resources are available if you do end up in a shelter?
So mental health resources, like folks that are looking for mental health support specifically, like Adson I can speak to, we actually usually refer elsewhere because we don't have like mental health clinicians in-house. We always want to make sure people are getting the best care that they can. Mind you, that also means people will be waiting likely for a mental health counselor or
Would that be
practitioner.
something that you would like to see implemented in a strategy for the housing situation?
I think that all of our systems are like deeply connected. So enhancing all of our systems is important. Criminal justice, healthcare, housing, food security, like all these big things, they all come into this really. Most of the same demographic are affected by all of those systems. And so we need to actually flourish and enhance most of those systems. Mental health, of course, being one of them. But yeah, like I'd say most of our systems are chronically under resourced. You're talking about healthcare. You mentioned hospitals earlier. You know, people are stretched to their limits. And yeah, we definitely need to do better.
I'd like to bring Eric and Robin into the conversation. I'm not sure how I do that on the screen. Can we see? Yeah.
You have to move it so you're not seeing it.
There we go.
And
Welcome and thank you for coming, you guys. This means a lot to me. Eric, let's talk about the situation on the streets. Can you describe a typical day for you?
lately I've been going to a lot of meetings. I feel like people always bring me into meetings, but most days I try to go out and talk to people living outside for a couple hours and just see what they need, and if I can bring them sleeping bags or tents or socks. A lot of people need socks, so I bring those to people and I just try to kind of work with them. But then I spend a lot of time on the phone because it's important to be able to call people, call different resources, and call shelters and that kind of stuff. So a lot of the time I'm talking on the phone, trying to get people into a place and trying to get them off the streets if I can. And just kind of always just trying to solve problems. Really, it's not really typical because people need different things, right? Somebody today needed a sleeping bag, and somebody yesterday needs some pain, and just trying to solve.
So it's very resource driven.
Yeah.
That's why I want to help with the tents. You had mentioned on the news that you, in a perfect world, would like 100 tents. We got some tents here today.
I would say in a perfect world, I wouldn't need any.
Yeah, exactly. That's for sure. So, where could we drop off tents to help people that are homeless this winter? Because, as we know, it's getting colder and the snow is coming.
Kind of like Riley said, I work in community with a lot of different other people. So I work with like the housing hub can always use tents. Out of the Cold is a place that I work with a lot, and they can always use tents. And I can sometimes use tents. I just don't have a lot of storage space for them, so that's why I'm always partnering with these agencies. Probably Riley can use tents too. So just whichever kind of homeless organization is closest to you.
Okay, so I could go to Out of the Cold and drop off a tent, or I could go to the Salvation Army, or I could go to Absent, and then these would be points of drop off for them. What about where are they going to be? Where are all these tents going to go?
Physically?
Yes.
The city has set up these kind of 4 sanctioned encampment sites. So a lot of people are living in these like tenting sites where they're allowed to set up the tents. They're across the city, and then also people are just kind of hiding in parks outside of, sometimes in plain sight, and sometimes outside of the view, so that nobody kind of bothers them. So something will be hidden, you won't know where they go. They'll just set up in like a more discreet location.
Why are some people not wanting to not be homeless?
It's cold outside. Because people I don't think anybody wants to live outside. Sometimes in the summer it's a lot nicer and more pleasant, but in the wintertime it's more not fun. So I think people don't want to be homeless any time of the year, really. But
No, but some people say, I said, do you need some help? And they say, no, I want to be homeless. I don't want to be in the system. I don't want to be under the rules. I don't want to be under government restrictions.
I would always ask people, do they not want to be homeless, or do they not want to live in any of the 4 options that are presented to them? So maybe people don't want to live in homeless shelters. Some people don't want to live in hotels because they're hotels, right?
That's for sure. I'm having that issue with myself.
Yeah, some people don't want to
I'm
live
a
in
rebel.
low-income kind of rooming house or like low-income senior housing because they don't like all the people around them. So I would say present somebody with a really good option, probably 99.9% of the time, people will take it. But if you just say, you're homeless, you don't deserve a nice place to live, take this crappy place, people say, no, I'd rather live outside, so they have freedom, right? And so I think that's a big thing. You got to offer people reasonable options.
How much would getting the tents help?
I mean, like we talked about, like Band-Aid solutions. Tents will help hopefully somebody not get soaking wet and freeze overnight, but they're not going to help somebody get into permanent housing, right? The goal is always to get people into permanent housing and somewhere where they can not have to have a tent, they can get a tent somebody else. But a tent just keeps them alive for a couple more days until.
And how much time do we have? Is there a time frame for this, or just that every day when we get tents, we put them up? How does that work?
People just ask me for tents every day.
They do.
And so,
So you would be the resource to say, okay, I was talking to somebody and they said they needed a tent. So would we give them your name and number, or would they just
could
go?
be my name and number, but like I said, I only work with a certain population, certain segment of the population. Other organizations like the Housing Club and like ATSA, like Out of the Cool, they all work with their own kind of people, and they're always giving out tents too. And like I said, we work together. So if I don't have a tent, I ask them for one. If they don't have any, they ask me for one to get to their fund. So like any of these organizations, we all work pretty closely together.
As well as mental health, if there's a mental health situation, would they be referred to MOSH, say, or how does that work?
You have a lot of faith in the mental health system.
Somebody's got to.
I don't know. Like mental health, like Riley was saying, sometimes we can refer out to the public mental health system, but like the waiting times are so long, and then they have really kind of narrow defined mandates. And so sometimes what we expect somebody to get help with mental health is not the way that the system can help you with it.
And
Right?
that leads right into Dr. Robin McGee. I like to introduce Robin. Robin and I used to play outdoor soccer together. I used to run faster than her, believe it or not. We used to have some fun, didn't we?
I did.
Yeah. Go, Robin, go! And we won every game. And I like to say hello to my housing and support worker, Hope. She's from Absent House for Women and Children too. And we'll have her say a few words in a few minutes. But I'd like to get back to the doctor. Could you tell us who you are and a little bit about your journey?
Well, I'm a clinical psychologist, not a medical doctor, and I worked in public mental health in the Annapolis Valley for 12 years, and then was in education. So I've been in public mental health services for 30 years here in Nova Scotia. So I certainly have seen the impact of homelessness, both causing, but as a cause of mental health problems. The stress of it is debilitating, and also the reverse, where the severe mental health problems result in an inability to navigate the system, this complex system that I'm talking about here today, and so on. And I'm certainly familiar with what everybody's talking about here today about the wait lists and how long and terrible they are, and how again they are often structured around we serve these people, we can't serve people who don't have an address. We might have strange rules like that create barriers to care, and certainly barriers to prompt care. So that's a real thing. So my kind of connection. So that is one thing. My other piece of my story is that I'm a cancer patient, stage 4 colorectal cancer, and I was diagnosed in 2010, so almost 15 years ago now, but I still have it. Anyway, there was a huge amount of medical malpractice surrounding my case, and also an intervention fight with the province to bring about the best fair chemotherapy policy in the province. So I wrote a book about that.
And we'll be giving away a copy of the book for somebody here today. I'm thinking of a number. No, I'm just kidding. But your journey, I mean, the battle that you've gone through has been exhaustive, and you've had the support of the community. You also do fundraising. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my fundraising is mostly in the cancer space, so that's Canadian Cancer Society has Relay for Life and things like that. So I've been the highest fundraiser for Relay in the Valley for just 8 years, I guess. I don't know.
6,700.
Yeah, bring in a lot of money.
You do an excellent job. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you hope to do over the next little bit? Is there another book coming out?
Well, I'm in cancer treatment right now, which is exhausting and terrible and all the rest. And I don't know about another book, but it's I do have a blog where I keep I post about my progress, and I do that in the context of music, famous music. So, Jimi Hendrix and all along the Watchtower.
Oh, the old guys.
Yeah, mostly 70s, you know, 60s, 70s.
Cool.
Adventures sometimes into the 80s and 90s. You take the song lyrics and apply them to it. You know, the context you're in, cancer and struggles and survival.
And I had a cancer scare 4 months ago. I'll never forget it. The doctor came in, Dr. Amir, and she said, "Anne, I have to talk to you." And I said, "Yes, doctor." And she said, "You have cancer." And it was like a ghost had gone through my body, and I was floating in the room. And somebody, you know that
Associated.
the Peanuts where the teacher goes wah 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 wah. That's what it sounded like. You have cancer, and I was like, so what do I do? So you go to your appointments. You make sure you never miss an MRI. That's the most horrifying experience in your ear. By the time you get out, you feel like you were in a washer for about 20 minutes. But anyway, I did all my tests and all my appointments, and I'm cancer free. So yeah, so I'm blessed with that. I like to bring Hope in right now. She's had to deal with me as my housing person. She's actually agreed to come under police protection today. So Hope, what do you do for ABSIM? Why do you like working for ABSIM? And just a little bit about you. We're going to twist it around. Jessica,
My bad.
this is Hope. Can you pronounce your last name for me?
Kasutu. Name is Hope Kasutu, just as it spells.
I'm just going to call you Hope for purpose of the. So Hope, why ABSIM? Why have you dedicated your time and energy into housing?
I think it's a place where it's good to support people and it's good to learn more about housing. I think housing is a piece that you never really realize until you work more into it with the people that are actually facing the problem. I enjoyed it with little knowledge. I've grown in it and I'm enjoying meeting people from different types of background and it's a complex problem that we don't even know the answer, but one day at a time we're helping people, we're making people happy. And it's nice to see somebody inside and being outside, but how do you do it? The process is different for everybody and it depends how you can handle that, but it's something that we take it as a journey together. So I'm happy to support everyone that comes my way and whoever's on my caseload like you.
You like me? Yes, I'm on the caseload.
And it's interesting to know you as a person who can also put an effort in putting things like this and advocating for yourself and
Advocacy is a thing that is learned, though. I found that having stayed in ABSIM for the first time, I lost weight. I lost 27 pounds because I walked up that street on up to Uniac Square and I went to the coffee shop and they gave me free coffee every day and I looked for a place to live. How, if I gave you a little pot of money, where would you think that we would need it the most now, intervention, as far as housing?
That's very biased.
From the bottom up.
I think I would obviously start with where I am. Obviously, housing is in need of every penny that comes your way. So, housing is number one. Health in the system as well. That is probably going to need that. So, I find that every sector is lacking, but this is how the money can be channeled and prioritized. But housing is definitely on the top list.
It is for me too. Did anybody on the panel want to ask any questions of anybody else on the panel? As far as, so for the tents, getting back to them because this is the homeless situation. Do you think we can get the tents that we need for the resource?
Yeah, I mean, I would buy tents all the time. Like I was just saying, I think I'm just trying to find that many tents because the money is there. Like we can talk about if we had a small pot of money, what would we do? It's like I think there is a small pot of money around. It's just we need a large pot of money. Like what?
How much would you say we need, Eric?
Well, we need millions of dollars. Like,
Yeah.
Like we can hire more people for how much that costs, but really what we need to do is be building these buildings because like.
What about converting schools? They have the classrooms, they have the gym, they have the cafeteria. I know there's one on Brunswick Street that is vacant. Do you have any suggestions?
I mean, if it's cheaper, I'm not an architect or a builder, so I don't know, but I think people have these ideas of like repurposing buildings, but I think a lot of the time it's just cheaper to buy the land and build a new build because it's housing construction costs are really high right now, but like a lot of the other things just seem to just take a lot of time and money. But really, it's like to start building as much as we can, and we see all these cool little tiny homes and then like really cool things like that, which are awesome. But oftentimes it's just as cheap to build a new place. So like we're opening up shelters and stuff like that. But how many millions of dollars are we spending in new shelters? But the shelters are still abandoned as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hotel rooms are still abandoned, right? Like how many hundreds and thousands of dollars are spent on hotel rooms that could be spent on like a mortgage or buying a house for somebody that's more permanent. So the hotels, after you pay that night, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money is spent on non-permanent solutions.
So what needs to be done immediately? Like what, as a group, if we could say we could get some legislature going, what is it that we need the most right now? Besides, we know that we need affordable housing, but we keep saying it and nothing's happening. How do we get that over that hump?
I think there are a lot of people trying really hard to get over that hump. There are a lot of people that put their heads together on different layers too. Like the community comes together often, but the community also speaks with different layers of the government and whatever else. And I think that we're all shouting. I mean, all of us probably shout a little louder. I'm not sure, but like everybody's asking for the same things, and the pressure is there. It's just a matter of what we can't control the response. We can only ask and demand so much, right? So it's not us that I feel like needs to do more action. I think it's other folks that need to take more action.
Exactly. Well, we didn't build the football stadium and we didn't build the art gallery, so we have a surplus. And they're scratching their heads and they're wondering what they should do with the money. Isn't it, Doctor, isn't it obvious?
To me, it's obvious. To me, it's an obvious thing that we should be investing in the infrastructure that would support affordable.
I'm not saying that we don't need the arts and we don't need, that, but right now we do need, even myself, I've been looking for months for housing and I can't find anywhere to live. And then if you have bad credit, then you can't do a credit check. So then you have to be at the mercy of the landlord, and then comes back to the rules that you mentioned. And a lot of people, I myself am a rebel, so I don't like rules sometimes. So sometimes it's hard for me to adjust. But if you want to be in the program, can you talk a little bit, Riley, about the diversion program?
Like the program that you're a part of? The shelter diversion support program? Sure. I mean, another Band-Aid solution created, but because there's not enough beds in shelters to accommodate all the folks that are unhoused, we have now started working with local hotel providers to put folks in hotels. As you said, it comes with rules. It comes with a lot of like instability and insecurity as well there, because it's not an indefinite hotel stay, it's a temporary hotel stay. And in terms of making it like extending your stay, that's not up to us, that's up to hotel providers. And some, I would say some smaller hotels are really helpful and really great at doing the extensions. And then sometimes the bigger ones, especially this summer, it can be really tricky to do extensions. So just because you've got a hotel doesn't mean you can stay there until you secure housing. Sometimes you've got to shuffle around to different hotels around the city. And that is like another trauma in itself, I think, like trying to pack up, trying to move, it costs money.
And you only got a certain amount of time. I woke up at 11:30 one day and they told me I had to be out by 12. You never saw anybody pack their bags as fast as I did. Then you got to go down all the stairs and up the stairs and down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a spring chicken. I mean, I'm only 30, but still, But Eric, I'd like to partner with you for the tents. I'd like to do whatever I can on the phone. I'm really good on the phone, as people know. I phone usually people 2 or 3 times a day just to check on them. But I would like to extend my services to CBC phoned, and they were going to do a story on it. And ATV, you were on ATV, weren't you? Or CTV?
CTV, I think.
Yeah. That's when I heard you say 100 tents, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, I gotta help. I gotta get some tents.
Well, it's one of those
I
things
might
too. We
need
talked
one.
about banding solutions, and I wish there was a way that for every dollar we spent on a tent, we could also spend the same dollar or another dollar on like portable out there. We need those banding solutions because people will be very cold if they don't have a tent or a sleeping bag, and somebody's going to buy those tents and sleeping bags. But it seems like if we should just spend an equal amount of money on put it into a pot to build a building. So like every time we hire a new street navigator and spend that money on that program, which my entire job is a banding solution really, we should also be putting that money into like a down payment on a house or like some kind of permanent solution to keep people housed in the long term. It's the private market is on.
So we could approach it like, say, O'Regan's or somewhere that would do a match program, dollar for dollar. $10, $10, $10, kind of like
But even like not even the charity sector. Like it's useful to have that charity sector, but really I think it comes down to the government's responsibility to house these small citizens, right? And I think for the charity sector, it'd be great, but really for the province too. For every dollar that the province spent on an outreach worker or shelter diversion or something like that, they should also spend $1 on building buildings and buying buildings to get people off the street permanently.
Would you agree with
I have
that?
a question. My niece was struggling to get, and this is in Toronto, struggling to find a place to live. And she ended up getting into a program run by Habitat for Humanity where they were building this giant skyscraper, but the expectation was that the person who was to live in that home had to be involved in doing a whole bunch of volunteer work for Habitat for Humanity, or else to kind of essentially, and the whole family could too. So if I went down to the place, I could work for a few hours, and those points I would go to her. When she had enough points, she could have, if she could raise enough payment, she could have ownership of the apartment. So that was Habitat for Humanity, and that was Toronto. I don't know if we.
Can you address that, Eric? You know?
I don't know how that for humanity works really. We're going to develop this huge thing out in Spryfield. I feel like they got tied up in some regulatory stuff, but I don't exactly know how it works for that kind of stuff. But like that sounds great, but it's also like a lot of the people that we work with don't have those kind of family supports, and that's why they're kind of homeless, right? So it'd be good for some people, but I think we need all sorts of housing solutions because like it seems like even people who are working a full-time job and like have decent income coming in are still find themselves on the streets because they used to be able to find, like $1,000 a month apartment. And now those $1,000 a month apartments don't even exist.
So it's a money issue.
I think
It's also a wage issue. So
Wait,
people
money,
if
wage.
you work 40 hours a week on minimum wage, you cannot afford an apartment.
It takes 78 hours to pay for rent, approximately. And then some have, like you said, more than one job. They're juggling 1, 2, 3 jobs at a time.
well, like landlords' whole goal is to maximize profit, right? So I think if we can take that, if we can have rents or something like that too, because if you give people more money, the landlord say, "Oh, I can just charge for that." We need to live. So I think we need to regulate the landlord's credit more too.
What about the landscape of Halifax? Look how that's changed. I mean, you look up and all you see is buildings. Who's going to live in those buildings? I'm sure somebody on the street isn't going to get a $3,000 or $4,000 condo. So why are we building non-affordable housing?
Money. People want to.
Jessica, did you have anything to say? She's taking notes. My friend Jessica. If nobody has any, does anybody have any? Would you like to say a little bit about? Can you get a book out?
I can.
Yeah.
Where? Right here. There's one. Yeah, there's an example of the book. This is my book. I think so.
And it won an award.
7.
7 awards.
So anyway, it relates the story of my sort of fight for survival and the search for sort of medical justice, as well as trying to influence government policy successfully, ultimately, that to extend the formulary so that Nova Scotia could have best practice chemotherapy for my kind of cancer. Because we were the only place in North America and the whole Western world that did not have the best practice treatment available. And I'm happy to say, since the days of our advocacy in 2010, that almost, I'd say 1,500 Nova Scotians have had access to the best chance of cure.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Through advocacy, but that's what it took. It took relentless phone calls and piles of letters to the minister, saying you got to change this, you got to change this. So I don't know if those tactics can be ignored in any way around this.
Maybe there's a parallel. Maybe there's a parallel between the system that is medical and the system that has to deal with the medical.
I think this is not to what I want to say is not meant to be personal by any means, but there's different perceptions around cancer than there is homelessness, and there is a lot of stigma that folks that are experiencing homelessness face.
Yes.
And I've never had cancer, so I don't know, and I can appreciate that comes with all of its own speculations and stereotypes and whatnot. However, I can say from my experience of working within the unhoused community is there's so much discrimination and stigmatization of this population, and I think that has a lot to do with the response to the supporting this.
Mhm.
Again, I cannot understand or never imagine what you have had to go through, but that to me thinks about when we're talking about maybe if we can use the same response in this capacity. I just don't know if we would have the same response because we're working with a different demographic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, and so it's I guess anybody can get cancer. Not everybody thinks of themselves as becoming homeless, although it could happen to
Anybody at any time.
We're only one natural disaster away from all of us.
Yeah.
And so you're right. There's maybe an empathy difference that it's easier to raise money for cancer than it is.
Yes.
Because of
the
that
stigma.
Yes, and because
they're going to spend it on drugs, or they're going to spend it on alcohol.
Yeah, that kind of
The scenario goes round and round. What age groups are we looking at that are homeless? What is the demographics to the chat?
Well, it's lots actually, because if you think about families that are homeless that have young children, they would also be homeless too. So I don't think that we can say specifically one age, but I will say that I think specifically in the past we're seeing a lot of trends in seniors. Because seniors are on very restricted incomes, and I'd say 55 and plus single individuals. A lot more folks from the unhoused community in that different demographic. There's also actually something similar to people's responses to wanting to help is families. So when there is children involved, community seems to want to do more for those folks. And of course, everybody deserves a safe place to be. Everybody deserves a home. But when there's children involved, people have a different lens on. They have a different response. And so there sometimes is more resources and more services geared towards families or when there's children affected. When we're talking about single individuals, I would say single men especially.
Yes.
Again, different type of stigma, and that means a different response and different resources that are available for those populations. And by different, I mean less. It's really unfortunate, and I work in a program that has services for individuals and families, and people love to give to families, and that is great. But people don't love to give to individuals in the same way. And I think people probably also don't love to give to single men in the same way. I don't want to say that. I can't say that's 100% truthful because I don't work for an organization that way, but people have, again, very gendered perceptions of how men should be able to survive. And there is this sort of victimization sometimes of women as well. So again, it's case by case basis, but also we can see the trends and who gets service and who doesn't. All of them inadequately, but.
I'm a child psychologist, so a lot of my concerns were around youth, adolescents and youth. And they're super vulnerable, and yet they don't get the same love and attention that little kids do either. So the same
Yeah.
dynamic you're talking about, but that's a population that they're so hopelessly vulnerable, and
They
yet
are.
they can't vote, they can't, they can't get them. So
And they're living at home. And more and more
well,
people are living at home
and
because there's nowhere to live.
homes that are too violent to live in, for many, many reasons. Young people have to turn to the streets and people say,
Hello, Ann.
that's not always a possibility.
I was saying your link's not working because I got a text and everyone's saying the link's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When did you get that? Well, what time is it now?
1:45.
I don't know. I'm not a techie.
Hi, Ann.
Hi. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Sounds like she's working on it now. But thank you everybody for coming.
No worries.
I really appreciate it. And unless they can get disconnected again, I know everybody has to go to work, and we're gonna have lunch.
Hello, Ann.
That was
Hi,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm ready for you, sweetheart. How are you? Kathy's in the hospital at the Dartmouth General. She's been in the hospital for over a year and a half. And we can't see you, but we can talk to you.
You're not letting the camera's not turning it on.
Oh, you can't get your camera on.
No, I can only do the.
Well, did you want to just say a little bit about who you are and what's going on in your life?
Well, I can, but I believe you just touched it all. That I was in the North End of Dartmouth. I met Ann through church, through New Beginnings. I joined the church after she got baptized. Ann and I, we were going for drives. We were going for drives almost every day. If not, it was a weekend going somewhere. I spent a lot of time in the North End. I battled with addictions. Then I ended up getting diabetes after a while. I ended up getting sick on, I believe, the morning of the 26th of April. I ended up passed out. My boyfriend was the one that found me in the bathroom, unconscious. I ended up being rushed to the hospital at Dartmouth General. They pronounced me dead. I was on life support. They called my father. Told him that I'm not going to make it through the night. I ended up sitting up one day in the ICU, gave thumbs up to a lady that works at the North Grove now. She got an update, and I was giving them thumbs up that they can speak on my condition. I was on life support. I ended up developing, they're calling it COVID pneumonia. I do have respiratory issues because of it. I can easily stop breathing at night for a couple of minutes. I have to use a oxygen and bypass. I ended up having sepsis and my toes were very bad. My kidney shut down. I was on a catheter, couldn't do nothing. They told me that I would have to have some toes removed. And they will try to save what they can so I can get prosthetics down the road. They told me I could go for surgery and have them surgically removed, or I can wait. Either way, I would risk the chance of infection. And they treated me for infection. It had infection that stuck to the heart. So get my eye dilated and frozen every.
Okay, now she's gone. She's been in the hospital almost 2 years, and she's like somebody in the community that I would want to help. She had to get a chair so that she could get around, and the transit picks her up. And her attitude has been on and off. I mean, when you're in the hospital, and I mean, everybody's been sick, but to be sick for such a long period of time. So I wanted to bring her on because my show is mental health resources as well as intervention prevention. And
And it also illustrates the connection between physical health, mental health, and this is huge.
it all comes in the full circle.
Really illustrates. what
Yes.
we're trying to talk about.
Yes, so that's my friend Kathy in the hospital. You couldn't see her. She lost her toes. She can't walk ever again. So how mentally do you cope? Yeah. But on an upbeat note, I'm going to be having entertainment. Kevin Davison, I don't know if anybody knows him. You know Kevin from the Valley? Singer, paramedic, PTSD, winner at the East Coast Music Awards. Anyway, he's coming on, and I'm going to try to do a lunch and learn series with more people. Obviously, we have people virtually. Is Steve there now? Is Steve there? He's not answering. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I really appreciate your time. And you have my number. If you want to make me call, if you want me to give a list of calls you need to make, I can do that too. So that'll take some pressure that you're not on the phone and that you're actually out.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate that.
And we thank Riley. I thank Hope. And I especially thank you, Doctor, for coming. And let's have a little contest for the book.
Arm wrestle.
I don't know. I was thinking coconut. No, Doctor, will you do the honors? You make up the contest.
Should we do this numbers 1 to 10? Whoever's
Yeah,
the
that's.
closest?
I used to like that as a kid in the car.
So okay, I'm thinking of a number.
Okay, she's thinking of a number. Go ahead, Eric.
Should we write it down or something?
Yeah, let's all write it down here.
Number between 1 and 10. What's the prize?
A book. Here you go.
Don't tell anybody your number. Keep it a secret, and then you can say the number, and then whoever's the closest.
Okay.
Wait, are we paying to win or holding on?
No, hold on to it.
Okay.
Don't show it.
I gotta write my number.
To tear this up for? Put in
There's my number. And put your name by it so you know it's you.
I got it.
Okay. Now what do we do?
Now, I guess I could tell you the number, and whoever will show us.
Okay, so it's 1 to 5, right?
No, it's 1 to 10. Okay, the number I'm thinking of is 8.
Oh, no. 3.
Ah!
4.
What did you say?
I said 8.
Ah!
She wins.
I said 7.
But I just left it.
Ah!
Riley wins.
Too much.
And you get 3 bookmarks.
Is it autographed?
Autograph it, please, doctor. Yes, like,
Put it back in the free
Very
library so we
exciting.
can all share.
yeah, you're lucky.
And spell your first name.
Ryle.
And this is for coming. And this is for coming. Welcome. And I did give the doctor something too. I didn't leave her out.
You just take her book and tell her.
What's that?
You just take her book and tell her to leave.
Yeah, that's right. She came up from the valley today.
Oh, right on.
Kevin was supposed to come and sing, but he couldn't make it. He's going to make the next one. But this was good.
This is the first one ever?
My first
First
try.
one.
My first try.
Go down in history.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you. Exciting.
That's yours.
Hey, you need your pen.
Pens are precious.
Is this you?
That's me. Yeah, you know what? That's Dartmouth Field. And I was thinking of Dartmouth Field and BC Field and Dartmouth.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And would you pass it on to me after you read it? Because I'm dying to read it.
Yes.
So this doctor, thank you so much. And I can't thank everybody enough. Hope and Jessica, thank you all. It's been a dream of mine to do something like this. And next time, maybe I'll have a 350 plate dinner at this Scotia Center myself. We'll have beans and wieners.
Well,
you.
thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks so much,
coming,
Anne.
Eric. Keep in touch.
It was nice to meet you.
Us,
And I look forward to reading your book.
maybe.
Yes.
You're lucky, Riley.
I am very lucky. 8 is my lucky number.
Is it?
Thank you for this. This is cute.
Did you look inside?
I did.
Thank you.
Heather.
Yeah, stand up, stand up.
Yeah, thank you. See you later.
See you later.
See you later.
See you later. Merry Christmas. Need to ride?
There's one other.
All right.
I use this all the time. That's great.
We're putting this on the news.
Minutes. You mean minutes.
What it is? I'm
I had those tips there.
Thank you, Riley.
Thanks, Anne.
Enjoy your book.
I will be. I'll pass it along.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
very
sure.
much.
Bye, Hope.
I am. I'm sorry.
We're gonna have lunch, Jessica.
I love these things. It's really nice. She was captain.
You did great. I know. We got you. Yeah, everybody heard you. You were fantastic.
You had some lovely points. Like your rage.
I know, but we lost the feed.
All right, so I am back in studio. I wish to know how did the interviews go? How did the interviews go? And can you hear me? This is
Yeah, I got something for you, Kathy. I'll drop it off.
so this is Steve Livier. I'm
Okay,
reviewing
Listen, I gotta go because I gotta go for lunch now. I have some guests here.
You gotta go for lunch. So we're not going to be
Talk to you
attending your
later.
lunch as well.
Are we gonna
I thought we were enjoying the lunch as well.
How did that go?
It went really well for your first one. I made a lot of
Notes.
because
Okay.
I didn't think it would get.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. We will see you very soon.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I don't think the time of it was only 12:30. I'm like, I don't think we should.